and welcome back to Belle's Library. I'm Heather. And today I am going to be giving you guys a ton of recommendations. So I'm hoping you guys are liking this this new spot. I don't really have my bookshelves behind me, and today I'm definitely feeling that my bed is covered in books right now for this video. I don't know, maybe I should have done screenshots. I really don't like to do screenshots. It's just, I don't know, I find it to be so much more of a pain when I'm editing, so I'd rather make it a pain when I'm filming than when I'm editing, I guess. But yeah, I got like quite the pile of books next to me, but it is a lot easier for me to be doing this in here while my daughter's home for the summer because she's just a ball of energy. And there's a lot more room out there for her. I can kind of shut myself in my room a little bit and try to do a little filming. So I hope you guys don't really mind that, you know, this is the new spot at the moment. And also hoping you can't hear her jumping around like a crazy monkey out there. She is watching The Greatest Showman right now, and she loves to dance along to that movie. So hopefully it's not too loud. Anyways, that was a really long intro that had nothing to do with this video. Please subscribe so you can hear me ramble more. I promise you, they're usually not this long in the beginning. But also Instagram and Goodreads are down below for you guys. And today we're going to do recommendations from A to Z. So I am going to link Kelsey's video of this from Bookishly Nerdy, so you guys can check it out. This is kind of where I stole it from. Was her idea there, and she said she kind of got the idea from How to Train Your Gavin's video. I feel like I might have watched his, but I don't know if I have, so I probably will go back and watch his. But kind of basically the idea of what I'm doing today is that I'm going to be giving you guys recommendations that go from A to Z. So one book per letter of the alphabet for the most part. And there was only a couple of letters that I had a hard time with that I kind of had to tweak a little bit. But yeah, we're going to do a whole bunch of fun recommendations from A to Z. Here we go. Starting with A, Amy and Roger's Epic Detour by Morgan Matson. I read this last summer and it is like a great summer read. It's about this road trip. You have, one of my favorite elements is you do get like little receipts and pamphlets that they picked up along the way, and they do like music playlist. And let's see, this is like an email. So there's a little bit of some different stuff in here, a little pancake house menu. So this starts out, Amy and her mom are going to be moving across country. And so her mom has to get out there and kind of get the house settled and get started with her new job. And Amy is tasked with driving their car across, but she's very uncomfortable driving. She just had a really bad accident happen and she just isn't super comfortable driving. And so her neighbor Roger is going to help her drive across because he also has, his dad lives on the other side of the country. So basically he's going to just drive there instead of fly there for the summer like he usually would. And so the two of them are taking a road trip and they're supposed to just kind of go straight across, but they take some detours along the way and enjoy some sights. And it's just really cute YA contemporary romance, and I really enjoyed it. So there's A. So B is going to be Bloom by Kevin Panchetta, and this is a really sweet graphic novel in which we are following our main character who, he is in this band, he's a senior in high school, and he's like, I want to go with my band and see what we can do. But his parents really want him to help out at home. They own a bakery and they really need his help because they can't afford to really be paying anybody else. And so, but our main character is like, no, I really want to do this. And he's like, what if we hire somebody for the summer and I'll train them and get them going to help out with the bakery and it'll be great. And so he does this, but then he ends up really starting to enjoy working in the bakery because said hire is a newfound little interest. And so they start having fun baking together and hanging out, and they make this really sweet friendship and maybe a little more, and just totally loved their cute little romance. So really enjoyed this graphic novel. If you like the Heartstopper series, I think that this one is really kind of similar vein and very enjoyable as well. So, and you've got some really cute family ties and stuff in there. I enjoyed it. For C, we have the Caraval series by Stephanie Garber. Caraval's probably my favorite out of the three, but I really enjoyed this trilogy. So we're following Scarlett and her sister Tella, and basically they get invited to this island where Legend puts on this show every year called Caraval. And it basically is this audience participation show, and everybody's trying to figure something out or solve something. And this year, Tella gets kidnapped, and everybody has to try and find her. And throughout the whole thing, you have to keep remembering that this is all a game. There's definitely some stuff that you're like, wait, what? And you just have to remember. It's a game, but it's also got just this really fun, magical air to it. You have to kind of trade a lot of things for information, and not like regular things, but like a secret or a lie you've told or something weird like that. That just kind of makes this whole story different and unique, and you're following these different clues throughout, and just loved it. Loved it, loved it. For D, I have Daughter of the Pirate King by Tricia Levenseller. I recently read this and really enjoyed it. It's a fantasy romance in which we are following Alosa. I believe it's Alosa. So we're following Alosa, and she gets herself kidnapped by another pirate vessel, and basically she is wanting to get kidnapped so that she can search this pirate ship for a treasure map. And she is the daughter of the Pirate King, so she's obviously working for him / with him to find all the pieces of this treasure map. But unbeknownst to her, the first mate is very handsome, and they have the cutest little bantery relationship going on. And Lalosa, she's got some tricks up her sleeve to help her kind of navigate her kidnapping. So very fun, piratey fantasy romance. I just adored it. Moving into E, we have Alatsoe by Darcy Little Badger, and this is kind of a fun mystery, I guess you would say. So basically, Alatsoe, her cousin, I believe it is, ends up getting into this car accident and passing away. And before he passes away, he comes to her in a dream, and he's like, hey, like, this was not an accident. You need to go and like help figure out what actually happened. And so she goes to this town in Texas where he used to live and where his wife is, and basically, so we're getting a lot of like family vibes. She works with her mom and dad in a lot of ways to try and figure out what actually happened. And you got a little bit of magical realism because a lot of the people within her family and just her tribe in general have some certain abilities. So she has the ability to raise animals from the dead and be able to speak to them and stuff. So there was a lot of really good elements to this story, and I really enjoyed it, and the writing was great. So great story for that one. F is The Flat Share by Beth O'Leary. I do not talk about this book enough. I really enjoyed it when I read it. We basically have two main characters, Tiffy and Leon, and Leon owns this flat, and he works at night as a nurse. And then Tiffy, she's needing to move out of the flat she lives in with her ex. And so Leon is trying to make a little extra money, and he puts his flat up like, hey, I need someone who will kind of split the flat with me. We won't ever see each other, and we'll just have one bed, and I'll have one half the bed, you have the other half of the bed, and you get the flat all night long from like 6 p.m. until 7 a.m. or something like that. And then so whoever works like a normal type 8 to 5 job would then just need to be out of the house during that time. And he has somewhere to be on the weekends, and so they can have the flat for the weekends as well. So then Tiffy ends up moving in, and when she moves in, they start leaving like little sticky notes around the house like, hey, I made this food, you're welcome to have some, or hey, can we move this here, or just different stuff like that. And they start to get to know each other, and it's just the cutest little romance as they just kind of, it's like a You Got Mail with all these little sticky notes, and it's just adorable, and I loved it. For G, I put in The Guest List by Wow, I am totally spacing out. Sorry. Wow, I totally spaced that out. But that is by Lucy Foley, and you're basically following a pretty large cast. So you're following like 6 or 7 different characters through this book, and all of these different characters are going out to this secluded island for a wedding. So you've got like the bride, the groom, the bridesmaid, the maid of honor, I don't know, different people like that that are within the bridal party. And so you're getting all these different perspectives, and everybody's kind of got like a secret and different stuff going on, and there's like this huge storm out on the island and somebody ends up dead. And you actually, I don't think, gosh, I should really go back and reread this story, but I'm pretty sure you don't know who actually got killed or what actually happened. But you're trying to figure out who did it, and it is just a really fun mystery whodunit type story, and some of the twists and turns they got me pretty good, and I think about this book often since then, and that's why it's just like, this was a much better book than I think. Like, I really enjoyed it when I was reading it, but like, it's grown on me even more over time, which I always appreciate in a book. Okay, so we're getting into H. And H was a letter I had so many good books for. There was a couple letters I was like, how am I narrowing this down? I just don't know. And so I kind of grabbed a bunch of stuff for H here. I put House in the Cerulean Sea for this one because I think about that book all the time. I want to reread it so bad. Oh my gosh, I just want to get back to those kids. They're so adorable. If you have not heard about what this book is about, it is by TJ Klune. And basically we're following Linus, and he is what's his title? Basically he goes out to all these orphanages where there's a bunch of like magical youth, and he has to check on them and make sure that everything is running smoothly, the kids are being taken care of, and there's nothing crazy going on. So he gets tasked with this super top secret orphanage. So he goes out to this top secret orphanage, right? And these kids are just stinking adorable, and the caretaker is so awesome, and they have like a cute little kind of budding romance happening going on, and just, oh my gosh, the kids just are really like, they melted my heart so much. They are just so cute. So cute. We have like the son of the Antichrist, and we have this little gnome girl who just like does her whole garden. She does an amazing job. So she always makes jokes that she's gonna like bury Linus in her garden because he's good fertilizer. It's random and weird, but it's lovely and wonderful. Oh, jeez. Thanks, baby. You're so sweet. But H, also Haunting of Hill House. If you like a good kind of spooky house, haunted house story, this one's by Shirley Jackson. It's a classic. It's great. The Hating Game by Sally Thorne. Also really good. It's got great banter between these two assistants to CEOs at this company. They like sit across from each other, and they hate each other, but then obviously they don't end up hating each other. So cute. What else? Also, Home Before Dark, another kind of haunted house type story. Love this one. Horror Store by Grady Hendrix. This is a haunted, like, IKEA type store. Lots of haunting things going on with H. Oh, Heartstopper. Oh my gosh, such a cute graphic novel. Love that one. And recently I read this book, Hannah Beast by Jennifer McMahon. It's like 50 pages. And it's like a Halloween creepy monster story type thing, but really like people are the worst, not the monster. Moving into IIlluminae by Jay Kristoff and Amy Kaufman. Adored this. I've talked about it a million times on my channel. Told completely in these mixed media element pieces, and we're following Carenza is like attacked by the ship, and another ship is going by like a science vessel, and they stop to help and try and get people off of this planet before they're all just obliterated. And so they're taken off with all these people, and like another dreadnought's coming after them, and so they're trying to like outrun them, but also figure out what the heck is even going on. Why are they getting attacked? And then there's a whole bunch of stuff going on the ships, and it's just like, there's so much, and it's so amazing, and I loved it. So J, I didn't have a ton of J's, but this is a good one. So another graphic novel, Juliet Takes a Breath. And I know this is a book as well first, but I have only read the graphic novel so far. So we're following our main character, and she comes out to her family that she is a lesbian, and they are having a hard time accepting that and figuring it out. But she also ends up getting this internship with this lady who is very like pro-feminism and pro-LGBTQ plus, and she's just like, I'm gonna go do this internship and figure this stuff out and figure it out with myself and my family, and just the whole internship doesn't end up being exactly what she is expecting it to be, but she really learns and grows in so many ways, and it's a really good graphic novel, so might check that one out. So K was another one I kind of had a hard time with. So I ended up picking up King's Cage by Victoria Aveyard, and this is actually the third book in the quartet. That is Red Queen, I believe, is the title of the quartet. It's the title of the first book, but I believe that's also what the whole series is called. Anyways, this follows, basically you have a higher caste in which people have silver blood and they have magic, and then you have people who have red blood and they do not have magic and they're very oppressed. And this girl ends up, she is from the caste where she has red blood, but she ends up with magic, and so the rulers are trying to like hide it from everybody and say that, oh, she actually has silver blood and she got like lost, or I don't know, they try to hide it in some way, and so they end up making her be like engaged to the king's son and stuff. And yeah, it's been a while since I've read this, so I'm trying to remember, but that's kind of the setup of the story. I really enjoyed it, and I read the first 3 books like pretty quickly back to back, and I think it just burned me out and I never finished the series, but I really do want to go back and finish the series because I was enjoying it quite a bit when I was reading it. So yeah, I need to go back and check this one out. For L, we have my lovely Legendborn here by Tracy Dion. Adore this book. It is a King Arthur retelling in which we are following Bree, and she just lost her mom and she gets accepted into this early college program, and the first night that she goes there, she sees this like demon thing being taken out by these students, and they try to erase her memory, but it does not work, and that is very odd. And so they kind of get her into the society, and she starts learning how to be one of the Legendborn, which are basically all these different King Arthur descendants, and they fight against all these demons and stuff. But there is a lot of really great elements to this. I mean, you have the secret society on campus, you have a trial type thing going on in here as well, which I really enjoy when there's trials in books. We also have, Bree just has a lot going on. She's grieving over her mom. She's finding out a lot of things about her mom that she didn't know. She has a great dad and best friend that she's trying to hold together those relationships while also building all these new relationships and figuring out this whole new world she didn't have any idea about, that she's just getting kind of thrown into. So yeah, great book. It was just, it's one of my favorites of the year. It's awesome. Next for M, we have A Monster Calls by Patrick Ness. I love this edition with these gorgeous pictures. They are just amazing. Oh my gosh, so beautiful. The artwork's just great in here. But the book is amazing as well. So we're following this young teen, Connor, and basically this monster starts showing up at his window in the middle of the night, and he's like, hey, you are going to tell me your truth eventually. I know maybe you're not ready yet, but I'm going to tell you 3 different stories. And by the time that I'm done telling you the 3rd one, you're going to tell me your truth. And this is kind of a fantastical type book, but at the same time, it is set much more in the real world. And we have this really overlying plot line where we're talking a lot about grief and how that kind of manifests. And it's just, it is like, if you want to sob your heart out, you read this book. Pretty much. The Night Circus by Erin Morgenstern is my in-book pick. Loved this one. I think this one's one of those books where people love it or hate it. It doesn't have a huge plot, and I think that's maybe part of it. There is a plot, but like it kind of, you just are lost in it a little bit until the end, and then you're like, oh my gosh, this is how this is all going to fit together. The atmosphere, though, in here is amazing. The imagination this woman has is just like mind-blowing, and oh my gosh, just it's gorgeous. Like, that's my favorite part of this for sure. We have these two magicians, and they're like competing, and they make all these beautiful circus acts, and they're just, I don't know, I just can't like wrap my head around how amazing. I love that. But regardless, we're following basically these two magicians, and they are raised by two different people, but those people are basically already setting them up for this competition that they want to win, that one is going to be better than the other, and they don't know who each other is. It takes them quite a while before they figure it out, and they kind of have a budding romance happening between the two of them, and it's just, yeah, I loved it. I love circusy books too, so gotta love the fact that this is set within a circus. Just, I love that. For O, I threw in Angie Thomas's book On the Come Up. I love this book, and it's really good on audio too, because this one does have some like rapping, singing elements happening in it. So for this one, we're following, I think it's Bree. Yeah, just had a Bree book. I really like books with Bree. Anyways, Bree, basically, she wants to be a rapper like her dad was. So basically, she's trying to make it in this rapper world, and she maybe is doing it in the wrong way. And her mom's like, hey, like, slow down. I will try and figure out these bills and deal with that. And you don't need to be putting out stuff that's going to end up, you're going to regret in the long run. But I mean, she's like 17, 18, so does she listen? No. And so she's kind of got to learn from her mistakes as she kind of raps about some things that get her into a little bit of trouble. But I mean, Andrew Thomas's books are amazing and wonderful. She does a really good job of writing these dynamic characters, and it's a very gripping tale, and she talks a lot about race in our country and how that affects people, and it's really good. I recommend any of her books. So for P, The Poet X by Elizabeth Acevedo. This is my favorite Elizabeth Acevedo book, but she's definitely one of my favorite authors. She writes her books mostly in verse. Her audiobooks are amazing because she reads them herself. And in this one, we are following Xiomara as at school, she loves to write poetry, and her teacher says, hey, I have a slam poetry club, come join it, and find your voice and get it out there. And she's nervous, but she really wants to do it, and her mom is kind of against it. She wants her to get more involved in the church and be a little bit more involved in that piece of her life, and she doesn't think that what Xiomara is saying is things that she should be talking about. And so they're kind of butting heads, and so it is a rough mother-daughter relationship that you're talking about in here, as well as Xiomara just trying to find her voice in this world, and I just adored it. It was so well crafted. Moving into Q, I don't have a lot of books actually in this one, if you know, Q is a rough one. So we have Queenie by Candace Carty Williams. So in this one, we're following Queenie, and she is a 25-year-old Jamaican British woman, and she is just struggling to kind of battle the lines between both of those cultures. She also just went through a huge breakup with her long-term white boyfriend, and she's trying to find solace in the very wrong areas. And so it's kind of her journey as she's trying to figure out the rest of her life and kind of really struggling with it. And it has some really good mental health rep in here, and taking care of yourself mentally in order to be able to get yourself moving again. And so I really appreciated that about her. For R, we have Renegades by Marissa Meyer. This is a really fun superhero type story in which we are following Nova. So in this world, we are following, basically we have the Renegades and the Anarchists, and the Renegades are like the heroes. They run the government, they all have superpowers, and they are like the good guys, right? And then we have the Anarchists, who were basically overthrown, and they are considered like the villains of this world. But Nova is a villain, and she's part of these anarchists, and she doesn't think it's right how they are being oppressed and everything else. And so she ends up infiltrating into the Renegades to help take them down. But then she meets Adrian, and sparks may fly a little bit, but they become friends and she starts seeing things from their side as well. And so there's a lot of gray area in this one in which you're kind of seeing both sides of things. So really interesting one. So S is another one like H, where I just had way too many good books that I wanted to talk about. So here they are, big old stack. We've got A Song of Wraiths and Ruin by Roseanne A. Brown. This is actually a debut book, and it is a wonderful, we are following, oh my gosh, it's been a while, Malik and Karina. So Malik and his two siblings are basically coming into the city for this big festival they have going on, but they're also trying to kind of escape and get away from their not so great life. And one of his younger siblings ends up getting taken away by, I believe it was an Ifrit. And the Ifrit says, you need to kill the princess in order to get them back. And then the princess, she needs to basically get married so that she can have a king's heart so she can bring her mom back from the dead. And so the princess puts on this tournament to basically win her hand. And so he enters, of course, and yeah, things get a little interesting. Then we have Sleeping Giants by Sylvan Newell. This is a really fun sci-fi book told in interviews in which we are following. We have Rose. She fell into this big hole and there's like a huge gigantic mechanical hand in there when she was a kid. And then years later, she ends up getting her PhD and she becomes like the head research doctor on said, like learning more about the hand and basically trying to find all of the different body parts throughout the world. So we're following the pilots that are going out and finding these pieces and bringing them back. We're following the doctor, Dr. Rose, and as she's kind of researching, there's like a geneticist and it's all these different interviews as we're kind of moving through the story and what's happening. And we also have a very mysterious man who's doing all the interviewing that we know nothing about. That's killing me. I just want to know everything. Then we have Small Spaces by Catherine Arden. This is a really fun horror middle grade in which this class goes to a like farm, like pumpkin farm kind of thing. And there's all these really creepy scarecrows that end up like kidnapping them. And it's crazy. It's fun. I like that one. And then, of course, Seven Husbands of Evelyn Hugo by Taylor Jenkins Reid. One of my all-time favorite books ever. I love this book. We're following Evelyn as she's telling a reporter her life story. She's never done this before, and she tells it through basically her 7 different husbands and what each of them were like and what life was happening during those times. And you're finding out who she actually loved. And yeah, it just... it was just amazing. So amazing. Taylor Jenkins Reid can really write some characters where you just, ooh, you feel for them and it can pack a punch when things go wrong. Then we have Sleigh by Brittany Morris. I have adored this book this year. It's one of my favorites for sure. So we're following Kira, and Kira has made a whole game. It's like a online role-playing game. And then some people get into a tiff about the game outside of the game, and one of them gets murdered, and it's like a kid, and everybody's like freaking out, saying that she's racist because she basically made this game just for the Black community to play. And yeah, kind of takes off from there. It's so well crafted and so amazing. The author did an amazing job with this one. And then we have Sadie by Courtney Summers, which was so fun and awesome, and it is like a YA thriller. We're following 2 perspectives. So we're following Sadie. She is trying to go after who murdered her sister a year ago. And then we have Wes McCrae, and Wes McCrae, he does a podcast, and he's like, oh, missing girl, whatever, there's a million of those. But then when he finds out that because Sadie is missing. So then when he finds out that Sadie's sister was murdered a year before, he becomes much more interested. So we're following him as he's investigating where the heck Sadie went, and kind of also his podcast element in which he's telling everybody what he's found and done different interviews and stuff like that. And then we're following Sadie after she's kind of gone after said killer and what the heck happened to her from there. We're gonna keep going here. We've got T, which is Take a Hint, Danny Brown by Talia Hibbert. Really fun adult romance, definitely adult. okay, very steamy. We're following Danny and Zaph. Danny and Zaph both work in the same building, and one day there's a fire drill and Danny gets stuck in the elevator, and Zaph goes and he like opens it and saves her, and he carries her out, and the video goes viral of him carrying her out of the building. And Zaph also has a charity that he runs, and it's getting really good press from this video. So he says, Danny, will you fake date me? And that's kind of where it leads from there. There is a lot of representation for having like anxiety and fear of relationships and stuff like that. Then moving into V, I kind of had to stretch this one a little bit. The Southern Book Club's Guide to Slaying Vampires. That's where we got the V. Love this one by Grady Hendrix. It is basically like these 90s housewives have a neighbor move in, and everybody's like, oh, he's fine, but this one girl's like, no, there's something weird going on. And then these kids start going missing in the town next door, but it's like the poor town, so nobody seems to care or be doing anything about it. And she's just like, no, this isn't right, and nobody wants to listen to her. Her husband doesn't want to listen to her. W is We Are Okay by Nina LaCour, my favorite book of hers so far. I really enjoyed this one. So Marin goes off to college and she stops talking to everybody. Her grandpa like just passed away, I think the summer before she leaves, and that's who took care of her and who she kind of shared her whole life with. And she won't even talk to like her best friend. So her best friend ends up showing up over her like winter break and is going to stay with her. And we're just finding out, basically you're actually following two different timelines. So we're following the best friend coming out and seeing her and how she is now, and then we're also following the summer before she leaves and leading up to her grandpa passing and everything that happened. And it is just a really beautifully written book. Nina LaCour has great, beautiful writing, and it's just such an in-depth, kind of almost a character study in a lot of ways, but there's, I don't know, so much depth to the story. It's really beautiful. X is No Exit by Taylor Adams. X is a tricky one. This is a really fun thriller, and it's got this isolated setting. Basically, we have this girl ends up showing up at this rest stop, and she ends up getting snowed in there with like 4 or 5 other people, and she goes out to try and make a phone call to her mom saying, hey, I'm not gonna be able to make it tonight. And in the back of this van, she sees this little kid's hand stick up, and she's like, what happened? So she's trying to figure out how to like save this kid and figure out who the heck inside kidnapped her. And it's a wild ride. I just realized I totally skipped over You. So You was the On Honeymooners by Christina Lauren. This is a really cute romance in which we're following. So Olive's twin sister is getting married. She's the maid of honor. And then the best man and her don't end up eating the food for different reasons at the wedding, and they're the only ones who don't get food poisoning super bad. So the bride and groom can't go on their honeymoon, so guess who gets to? But the maid of honor and best man do not get along. They don't really like each other, but they kind of have to pretend to be this married newlywed couple so they can go on this really cool Hawaiian getaway. And the very last book is for Z, and you're gonna look at this book and be like, there's no Z in the title, Incendiary. I ended up going for the author because Z was like non-existent for me. Zoraida Cordova starts with a Z. I have not talked about this book in a while, but I really enjoyed it, and I think the sequel just came out, or it's just about to. I was just thinking the other day that I really need to look up if I can get it yet, because I really liked this one. So when Renata's a kid, she ends up being taken in at the palace, and she is a magical Moria in which she can take people's memories, and it's a very rare and very, it's the most feared of all of the magical abilities that people have. So the king ends up using this to his advantage as she's a kid, but then these rebel spies end up coming in and they end up taking her, and so she turns rebel spy. But she grows up with the spies and she starts kind of working for them, and she ends up having to infiltrate back into the castle, and yeah, it's a wild ride. There's a lot of like political stuff going on, and you're really questioning the motives of like every character in here and which side they're on, and it's great. The back says, I am Renata Convita. I have lived 100 stolen lives, and now I live my own. So the end of this, definitely a huge cliffhanger. I was like, I want the second book of this so bad right now. So there it is. That was a lot of books and recommendations, and I am sorry if that took a while. Whew. I've got a lot of video footage right now. Anyways, we're gonna get going here. Hope you guys enjoyed and got some new book recommendations, and I will talk to you guys later. Bye!